But speaking of our
Solid.
movie, Emma, do you want to introduce what movie we watched this week?
Okay, sounds good. My pick was The Graduate.
In order to keep Elaine away from you, I am prepared to tell her everything.
I just don't believe you would do that.
Try me.
That woman, that older woman that I told you about?
Benjamin, will you just tell me what this is all about?
Graduate came out in 1967, directed by Mike Nichols, and it's starring Dustin Hoffman, and I don't remember the others. I'm so sorry. And Bancroft. I just know Dustin Hoffman. That's okay. Yeah. So, what'd you guys think? Initial thoughts? Because JJ, this is your first time watching it.
Yes, this
What
was
did
my
you-
first time. Oh, I'm okay. I'll just jump right in, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did not. So I actually didn't expect to be watching it last night because I didn't know we were going to record this. So like, I'll just throw this on, and we'll see if I like enjoy it. But yeah, the first like, I don't know, hour, I had a smile on my face the whole time. It was
It's so good.
so good. It was ridiculous. I was actually shocked about how good it was.
Yeah, I love that.
It definitely has a lot of French New Wave influence, and like from what
Yeah.
I've seen, I don't really like the French New Wave type of style, but it just worked here. It was so smart and so snappy, and Dustin Hoffman's performance really carried it
So
for
good.
me. He was such a I could just root for him, and he was a very likable character for me, and that definitely led into my enjoyment of the beginning of the movie. And like I enjoy the end too. The ending is it is a chef's kiss.
Yeah.
It is
Mm-hmm.
pasta,
Delicious.
guacamole. Oh yes, beautiful.
What?
But I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know food.
That's
but
okay.
the movie was so good. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Sorry that I went in with low expectations,
Wow.
but I
That's
really
okay.
enjoyed it at the end, and I'm happy you recommended it because I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yes. Success. Yes.
Success.
I was
Yeah.
worried. I thought you were going to say you didn't like it.
That's literally what I
Sad.
said last week about you watching The Handmaid.
I know it is, but yeah, I guess so. It's good. What about
It's
you,
fine.
Parvati? You've seen it before, right?
Yeah, I saw it once before for a class last year. And then, so this was my second time watching it. And the thing is, the first time I saw it, I didn't really like it just because I didn't know what I was, like, getting into watching it, too. And I think I just didn't understand it. But then my professor explained some of the things about it. And I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And I was going to rewatch it, but then I just never did. So it's really good that I rewatched it again now. And, like, watching it now was just so fun. And I was, like, laughing at so much of it, too. And just... it was a lot, like, I could appreciate how interesting they made, like, the shots and the storytelling without words, mostly this time, too. And it was just, I feel like it just, like, spews meaning, even without saying actual words in the actual movie, too. So, yeah, this time around was definitely, like, it's gonna be in my top because it's so good. It was so good this time.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yay.
That's
Emma, why
exciting.
don't you
That
give
makes me
us
so happy.
your thoughts and why you thought it would be a good recommendation?
Well, okay. It's kind of one of those movies that I just have always, like, I feel like I've always seen it before. I don't remember when I first watched it. But
I get
was
that.
young and I loved it, and it's been a part of my life, basically. I think I've watched it, like, so many times. Too many times. Because it's so rewatchable is something I love about it. It's just fun. It's a funny movie. It's hilarious. But also really smart, too, which I love. And the way that it's shot is just so beautiful. I love, like, 1960s cinema is just, it just looks good. It just looks so good. It's what I love to look at. And I just feel like The Graduate takes the top, like, of looking the best out of 1960s cinema. And it's just it's such a good movie. I love Dustin Hoffman also. Oh my god, he's so good in it. He's just so good. He's such a mouse like character.
That's a perfect description.
Yeah, that is.
He acts as if he's a mouse, and it's so funny, but also just extremely entertaining, and it never gets old. And that's how I feel about the movie. I don't think the movie will ever get old. To me, I love it so much. It's just great. Also, I love Simon and Garfunkel. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. They're in my top 3. So
wow.
That's another reason.
Will you give us your top 3 bands right now? Or
is one of them Fleetwood Mac?
Top 3. No, Fleetwood Mac's also up there.
Okay.
And then I'd probably say David Bowie. Technically not a band, but
he is a one-man band, David Bowie.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, but I love Simon and Garfunkel. So, that's also an instant bonus because I'm just jamming out the whole time.
Yeah, I'm surprised how well it worked, like, their songs, because I've seen the ending before, and then when Hello Darkness My Old Friend, these Sounds of Silence, when it kicks in at the end, when I first just watched the ending without context, it was so off-putting to me. It was like, why did they include this song? It felt like a meme, like, oh, hello Darkness My Old Friend.
That's what I knew it from too. Did you know it from like the Superman versus Batman meme?
No.
Oh.
I feel like it's in a bunch of things though. I feel like any type of sad person moment, they just include that song. But I guess this is where it originated. But even then, it worked this time with the context of the film, because the way they just keep using the soundtrack was really effective to me. Even though it's like kind of like, oh, they're using the same song again. Just the repetition of music just kind of builds into like the character of just the film in general, if that makes any sense.
When they were repeating that song too, I was so interested because I just hear the song and I think of the meme, right? But the actual lyrics apply so much to the movie as well.
Oh yeah.
And so like one of the lines in that song particularly is people hearing without listening, and that's literally the whole movie.
People hearing
and it's just I didn't notice it the
speaking
first time I watched it too, and I was like, that's awesome. And what was
I love that. That's my favorite.
There's a different song. Hold on. There's a song that happened. Okay, what are the different songs that play? Because there's another one that like
Sounds
applies...
of Silence.
Is it April Come She Will?
Maybe.
When does it play?
Is it the one talking?
I think it's during the affair.
It's April Come She Will. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
When they do all those cool transitions with him like sitting on a
I love
him
that.
in the bed to him.
I love it.
It was sick. The first transition got me. I was like, what just happened?
I know exactly. It's so good. Yeah.
I think my favorite in that series is when he's like jumping onto the pool thing, and then he's actually jumping onto Mrs. Robinson.
Yep.
That's the best.
Yep. I know. It's just like, I love the music in it so much. It's so good. Partially because I love Simon and Garfunkel, but it just fits the movie so well.
Yeah, I can't imagine any other song.
Yeah, The Sound of Silence is the way that Ben is feeling throughout the whole movie. He's just feeling this complete and utter emptiness and lack of fulfillment. And the song perfectly sums that up, and I love that. It's so cool. And even the other songs, too, are just excellent, and I love them. Especially Scarborough Fair, my favorite song. Just shout out to Scarborough Fair. It's a good one.
But yeah, to Dustin Hoffman's character, Benjamin, the whole film's like themes definitely revolve around him, and there's like this angst about like this new generation, which I still feel like applies today.
Yeah.
And just like even from the beginning, like he's like, there's something like wrong, like about my future. And he never like explicitly says it, I don't think, but it just you can just tell like he just doesn't know what he's gonna do with his life. And that's just a problem that everyone faces. And just the way he captures that is so funny. But at the same time, it's so sad. It's really like a heartbreaking film, but it's also so relevant. Like even like back then, and especially now, as a person who's about to turn 20 in about 2 days.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Having him like turn 21 and they're like, your childhood's over, son. Like it's kind of like a slap in the face with this, and it made it like really relatable. And for a film that came out how long ago? Like 50 years now, right? Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
53 years, I think.
Wow.
It's 2020. We can do math. Wow.
Yeah.
I was so impressed by that. I was just like, it's so relevant, but it's so...
I know. I feel like it's one of those things that stay relevant for a really long time, because there's going to be like a portion of people that don't have everything planned out, and I feel like that's a lot of our generation actually too, which makes it just so like relatable for everyone to watch, even if they don't quite understand like the context, or like they don't quite understand like the time period. Like it can happen at any time, which is just great. And even like I think it's cool to see like where he comes from too, because you never see where he went to school or anything, and like how he changed from that, or what he used to be like from that, but you just like see what it's like for him to come back, and like he just turns into this little mouse character that has like no opinion that's ever listened to, or like anything that any words or any like thoughts that seem like actually relevant to the people around him. And it's just so interesting to see like how he feels that way, and then he also just feels like he doesn't have a future at all. Like it feels so hopeless, but they do it in such a comedic way that it's like really capturing to watch.
And also I feel like the movie, because it's kind of coming from a different like generation, because from like the 60s onwards you could like argue that that's when like that was the act of when rebellion was more like the type of way that you would go about your life, and going against what like your parents did was a very big thing. And it's interesting to see, because from like I would say from the 50s and then back into the past, it was always structured, you know, what you're about, like what you're doing with your life. It was pretty standard. There wasn't a lot of, oh, you know, I have so many options. It was pretty much, there was like no options. And then, like, in the 60s, there's so many things that he could do, and he's just like, I don't know.
I found like one of his biggest problems was like a lack of drive, you know? He didn't didn't know what he wanted to do.
Drive.
Yeah. What was the pun there? I don't understand. I don't get it.
No, I just think film majors and then drive.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, is that your movie? Are you hinting at your movie?
No.
Okay.
I'm not doing that again, I promise you.
Okay. Well, you technically did it for The Graduate, even though it wasn't your movie. You
That's
snuck it in there.
I love that.
Me and
I
Emma
love that.
talked about it beforehand, so I just slipped it in, you know.
But yeah, back to like the generation thing. Yeah, it's definitely like hammered home in this movie, because you don't see, the only person you see at like Benjamin's age is like Elaine, right? That's the only person his like age group you can really connect to, and everyone else is like his parents and his parents' friends. Like that first party scene, like when he comes back from college or whatever, it just hammers home like that generational conflict, and it continues throughout the film all the way to the end. Like when they're on the bus and everyone's looking at them, it's all like old people on the bus, and it's like, there's this tension between generations and like ideals and what to do with your life and what not to do, and that pressure that puts on younger people. And I found the movie really captured that so well and so effectively. I was so shocked by that. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I love that.
Also, oh, go ahead,
Go ahead, no, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say
the
what's
back-to-back
really cool.
handoff. You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh.
We just respect
what's really
each other
cool
so
about
much.
it... True. I think it's cool that it captures multiple like types of like that emptiness and the lack of drive, because you could also argue that Mrs. Robinson's character, she's empty. She doesn't have any fulfillment.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
She also has no drive, and she's trying to figure out what she's going to do with her life, because it's basically been thrown away. And she's just like, I guess I'll fill it with sex and like like smoking and stuff. Like that's really kind of what her character is doing. But it's interesting because, and also Mr. Robinson, his relationship is empty because they just got married because she got pregnant. So like that's an empty relationship. You could argue that like I don't know. I feel like you could argue that a lot of the characters do embody a different type of emptiness as well, which is interesting. Something that I've noticed over many watches because I've seen it so many times. Yeah. And what were you gonna say, Parvati?
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say like the whole generational gap brings back to like my point about how everyone around him doesn't seem to like validate or really care about what he has to say about things. Even if it's just like the smallest thing, like like all of the guests at his party and stuff, like he would be speaking to them, but then they would be speaking at him instead of like actually having a conversation with him. And so that's just the start, and it like establishes it for the rest of the film, like that there's all of these older generation people who like literally don't care what he has to say because they think that he, like what he says doesn't really matter. And I was noticing that as like a common theme for the entire thing too, because the reason why, in my mind, the reason why Mrs. Robinson like encapsulates him is one, as a reason to kind of escape that, because like he needs something to keep him able to tolerate what's happening in his life, and also because she kind of almost like teases him in a way where she sort of listens but she sort of doesn't. So in that way she's able to like enter his world in a way that nobody else really is, but then she's still able to take control because she has that generational gap with him too. And then the whole reason why Elaine's able to like enter his world more intimately is because she actually fully listens to him, and that's why like he's able to completely feel comfortable with her in this world where literally nobody else listens to him too. And so that's why, to me, Mrs. Robinson's like the significance of her in his life is because she's able to like play into both worlds, and she can really take advantage of the fact that he's such a small like little mouse in this huge world of people that aren't like listening to anything he has to say, basically.
Yeah, one of my favorite like lines, it's I don't know it verbatim, but he says something like his affair with Mrs. Robinson gives him something to look forward to. And I found that like really like, I don't know, captivating. It just makes sense for his character, and it's like, yeah, he has nothing he's looking forward to. He has nothing ahead of him, and that's his fear. But this affair gives him something to at least have like some kind of future in a way, even though obviously you can tell this is not going to work out. But just that conflict there, just like it gives me something I want, but at the same time I know it's not going to last very long. It was a very like interesting conflict.
And I love how the movie just embodies that like empty feeling, because you feel it watching the actors acting, you feel it watching the way that they chose to film it. Like it just feels empty. Some scenes, there's other times where it's a little bit less, but yeah, I like that a lot.
I think that
oh, go ahead. No, I have respect for you, please.
oh my god.
Take it away.
I think a good way that they do that too, actually, by showing like the emptiness and things of like him feeling really separate from the world around him too, is like they have a lot of like POV shots that I actually forgot this movie has. And a lot of it, so like some of it happens in the hotel, and then also like one big part that is pretty memorable is when he's in the scuba suit too, and he's like watching everyone else that yell at him, and his parents keep pushing him back into the pool and stuff. So it's almost like he's like drowning in this world where he feels like everything is just consuming him instead of him being able to live in it. And also there's like this aquarium in his room too. And so when we watched this movie, when he was explaining it too, he was saying like observe things around in his like in the production design too, because this like aquarium represents kind of like his life as well, and it's kind of like a foreshadowing of what's about to happen like later on, not only just like literally with the scuba suit, but also just like as a whole metaphor for the entire film as well.
Yeah, for sure. Which is, I love it. There's so many small details that are just perfectly like sprinkled throughout all the film. Like I love the scuba suit. Like he's in the left corner, the actual scuba man, and then when they film it, he's actually in the left corner too, like the little scuba man. It's so cool. I love it so much. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I want to talk about like what you said about the production design. There's like this paradox of emptiness. Does that make sense? Because they're all very well off people. They're all very rich. Like like she goes to Berkeley and they have these beautiful houses with like pools and whatnot. But at the same time, everything does feel empty, even though they're surrounded by all this stuff. And it's like what kind of gives us happiness in our lives, like even though they're so well off and they can pretty much buy whatever they want, like he just goes up to San Francisco and finds a place just to stalk a girl essentially. They're just not happy, and it's like this paradox with their material like things and lack of happiness, which drives the themes of the film about not having like happiness through your objects, through your possessions. And I found that really interesting, that people are looking for more than just that because they already have it. So I thought that was a really neat detail.
Yeah, and also, like, I've read a lot of like summaries and essays and stuff about The Graduate, and a lot of them talk about how there's a lot to do with consumerism, like you were saying, and a lot of people kind of take the film as Ben doesn't want to go down the same path as the parents and the people in his lives. He doesn't want to just fulfill his life with random things. He wanted to actually do something and to be different, but the people around him and his family are like pushing the consumerist like idea onto him, like buying him the scuba suit and stuff, and like pushing him into the pool and stuff, like all of that. It's interesting. It's like they're pushing him into the pool.
Yeah, it's such a profound sequence. It was like a forced baptism. I don't know what it was.
I know.
And it was so uncomfortable. Like, just the way the camera, it's like you feel enclosed with the way it was shot.
Yeah, it's very claustrophobic.
Literal pushing into the pool. Yeah, exactly.
I know. It's interesting. I think that's so cool. And the 60s was a very big switch from, like, that's when a lot of people weren't really into the whole just buying plastics, which plastics. My favorite quote from the movie. Oh yes. You know, I'm gonna say one word. Plastics.
And he's like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, and then he walks away.
How do you mean?
How do you mean, sir?
I know, but it's interesting. It's cool. I love it, but it's just great. It's and I also feel like just the production design, not only for that emptiness, but for the other things, like, oh my god, the first scene with Mrs. Robinson in their bar with the jungle behind her, but it's not a jungle, but it kind of is, because she's like a cougar hunting for her prey,
and she only wears
jungle.
Yeah, her leopard skin clothing.
It's so good. It's so well done. I remember the first time someone pointed out the fact that it was all green behind there and with all the leaves and stuff. I didn't notice it for a while, and then they were like, oh yeah, because it's like a jungle, because she's an animal hunting for her prey. And I was like, whoa!
And it's cool too, because
so cool.
I didn't notice this the first time either, but like when he's in the middle of his affair with her too, like he starts to like adapt her habits and things, so he starts like smoking like she does, and also his room even starts to turn more like leafy and jungly and stuff too.
Yes.
Just like her like seeping into his life.
Exactly.
Further.
I know, it's so good. It's so well put together. Oh my god, I love it so much.
Yeah, so do you guys want to start moving into segments? Do you want to talk about our favorite scene in the movie? There's a lot to choose.
Oh, that's so hard.
We could literally just go through each scene in the movie and talk about why we like it.
I know.
Exactly.
But I guess
okay.
You can go ahead if you have one right away. Okay.
I have
two. You have a couple? You have two. I have two as well, but I'm leaning more towards one now.
Okay, I'll go with mine first. No,
okay, you go then. You go.
Oh my god.
We just did a triple pass back. What is this?
Go, JJ,
all right,
please.
Fine. The first scene, the first like seduction scene. Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Yes.
sets the tone for the whole movie.
It does. It's so fun.
I didn't expect that scene to be so early in the movie, but like I was like so happy that it was like it just right away and it just jumps you right in. And it was like a constant attack on Benjamin, and him just trying to deflect everything was the funniest thing. Yeah, Mrs. Robinson was like shooting lasers at him, and he's just like, no. Oh, I can't. What about your husband? And like,
oh my god,
I'm
so sorry.
Leave your things on the. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Please forget I said that, Mrs. Robinson. So his delivery of the lines gets me every single time. Like it's so funny.
Good.
I'm like, who talks
so
like
good?
This?
Dustin Hoffman just nailed it. It's incredible.
Yeah, he nailed
his performance is incredible in this. It's so good. And like, I love his little noises that he makes.
Yeah,
like, where he goes, because he's like a little mouse. And he just doesn't know what to do. And it's hilarious. And exactly, like, the way he delivers his lines are just so funny. That scene is so great. I love that scene.
Yeah, his performance really like comes together for me. Like when everything like culminates in the scene where she like completely naked and he's like, "Oh God, oh Christ,"
Yeah,
and like his performance there, I was dying. It was so funny.
I know.
But also the filmmaking too, it would like quickly cut to her naked, but it was kind of
Yeah.
like him taking a peek, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's like
It
that's his
was.
point of view, even though his eyes were like down there the whole time. Just really looking at-
Yeah.
But his performance was so funny at that part. And that's when I was really enjoying the film. And it was like right
Yeah.
off the bat, I'm like, oh, this is great. Because I thought this would be like
Yay.
a midpoint twist type of thing. Based off like
Nope.
that line, I'm like, oh, yeah, but it's like right away. Like, as soon, like,
Yep.
it's just like constant barrage. And he's trying to put up like this fake like politeness. Like, oh, I gotta go. Like, oh, sorry. But at the same time, she's just like wrapping him in her like vines and is like trying to bring him in. It's really a great
Yeah.
scene.
I know, it's so good. I love that scene. That I feel like that is one of the best scenes in it. But there's so many good ones, so it's kind of hard to pick.
What's one of yours? What was one of
Okay,
the two you had?
Well, I wrote about it in my Letterboxd review, but
Oh, I didn't read it.
Oh, it's okay.
I was waiting for this
when
podcast.
he goes to Berkeley, and
Mhm.
especially the part where the camera does that insane zoom out from him sitting on the fountain. I also wrote in my review that Scarborough Fair is playing, which is my favorite Simon and Garfunkel song. So I can't decide if the reason why it's my favorite is because I love that scene so much or because I love the song so much. But either way, that's like the scene that I watch on YouTube like multiple times because I just love it. It's so cool. And it has this insane like long shot of when he's just walking under the magnolia trees and then it's just so empty and then it's filled again. I think it's cool. I just love that. I also love when Mrs. Robinson says goodbye to him because I think that's one of the coolest shots. I love that shot.
Oh,
it's so
whoa,
cool.
the one where it's like a
zooms
close up
out.
on her and then it just like
Yes,
zooms out.
and then yeah, I love that shot. I think it's so cool. I love the zooming out that they do so much. I think that's what I love most about the cinematography in it. But I don't know.
Yeah, the
Those two
filmmaking in
shots
that
are really cool.
Yeah. The filmmaking in that rain scene, or the whole, like, when Elaine finds out about the whole affair, it's just, it blows me away. Like, the shot we were talking about last week with, like, the focus,
Yes.
I really
So
said, oh,
good.
wow, when it happened. Because it was
Wow.
it was, like,
Oh my
perfectly
God.
timed. Because it's almost like, it almost doesn't seem intentional. It's like the filmmakers are trying to catch up, but at the same time, it is her
Exactly. I
realizing.
know.
And then it cuts to the hallway,
Oh,
and it's like,
it's so good.
this,
You could
like,
analyze that scene to death. Like, I feel like you could talk about just that one shot for so long. Like, just talking about what that's like just shows what she's feeling in that moment, but then also does it. I don't know, like, oh, it's so cool.
It like the movie itself like reminds me of Scott Pilgrim and how's like it has this like millennium
Interesting.
angst to it. Yeah, it has like this like
Oh,
angst
okay,
with these
yeah,
main
yeah.
characters about like they don't know what to do with their life and they're kind of just like floating through life. But
Yeah.
that
Oh, I can
scene,
see
that
that.
shot with the hallway, it reminded me of the
Yeah.
like title sequence shot in Scott Pilgrim when the living room stretches.
Yeah.
It's like this forced
Yeah.
perspective, but even though it's like way more digital, but they kind of like practically did it in this film, and it was really well done.
They did.
And it
Yeah.
went into a close up of Dustin Hoffman's character's face. It blew my mind. I was like, whoa,
I know.
that was
So good.
really very innovative filmmaking.
Also, you know how you
And-
said you really like the super close zoom out of him at the
Yes.
fountain? I thought you were talking about the one that impressed me a lot was when he was like on the bridge driving and then they zoom out like so far.
Oh, yeah, that's cool too. Yeah, I know. It's like the zooms, they're so cool. I love how they did it. Because that's really hard. And wow, their camera must have been like so great. That- it's just
Especially in like
whenever I watch it-
1967.
Exactly. It's really impressive and it looks so cool. And it's unique because you don't see that in movies a lot. Ever, honestly, really. I don't know. Besides what you were saying about Scott Pilgrim, I can't really think of another movie off the top of my head that does similar style.
Yeah, it's like French New Wave films, but for some reason it just works better for me. I don't know why. I guess I hate the French or something. I don't know. But
wow.
I'm gonna get canceled over that by French
Number
people.
943 on controversial things. JJ said on
Yeah, sorry. The Graduate just does.
He's rich and famous, so we can ruin him.
True.
But yeah, there's so many like tropes like that, like the transitions. Like there's so many good transitions.
Yes. So
like
good.
the scene you were talking about when he goes to Berkeley, like one of my favorites was when he was sitting on the fountain and it was like empty, and then it just cuts and there's just a bunch of people.
Yeah. A lot of people. Yes, I love that. I think it's so cool. And I mean, besides like that, one of the most iconic parts is the ending. Everyone, that's what you see a lot. I think it's such a good ending. I love him screaming, Elaine! And using the cross as a weapon. That's so fun. I love it. I love it. It's such a hilarious ending scene. I love it so much. Hilarious and also, I don't know.
Sad because of
it is sad.
Their faces at the end. It's just,
I know.
What a genius way
It's
just to like leave on that.
I know.
And it kind of like cuts into like everything. And it kind of fixes some of the flaws I had with the movie for its like final third. But I guess we'll go into that later when we talk about nitpicks.
Yeah.
Parvati, do you have like a favorite scene?
Yeah, I think mine was definitely the part when he's in the scuba suit actually. And it's like when the POV starts too, because I just feel like that like period of silence is like one of the only times you get silence around those people that he's with too. And so in that way you're kind of able to like kind of breathe and see what see the characterization of his parents and like the people around him and how they actually just see him as like a piece of like entertainment, or just like they don't even see him as like a person even really, because they don't value anything he has to say, or like yeah. And so like I just feel like in that way you're able to like observe a lot of what's happening like around him too. And just I really enjoyed like the whole metaphor between him and like the aquarium and stuff too, and him just like existing in that kind of space too. And also the like at that point when he can't hear what anyone's saying around him and stuff too, it like recalls later during the wedding scene when Elaine can't hear what everyone's saying around her too. And so like I just thought that was a really cool like arc to be able to see like these two people feel so alienated in the worlds that they already live in. So like that there's a reason why they feel like they should be together too.
Yeah.
So that's why that one did it for me.
It's a good scene. There's so many good scenes though. It's so hard to pick. Like, because I'm thinking of all of the scenes.
Yeah, this movie is so quotable too. I love it.
So cool. Yeah, we can do a favorite line segment right after this one.
Oh, ooh, I'm ready.
let me talk about Parvati's scene real quick. I got what I was like, there was like a paradox there. It's like, you can understand, like, it's time to breathe, but at the same time, it's like he can't breathe because it's so claustrophobic. But I get what you mean about the clarity. It really gives, like, insight to, like, everything when you can't hear what they're saying. Mm-hmm. But I just found it funny. It's like he's struggling to breathe and the whole thing just feels claustrophobic. But it's still a time for us to reflect, which is really funny. But, my
favorite lines.
I still have one more scene I want to talk about.
Okay, never mind. Sure. Sorry, I'm just thinking of the scene where he tells his mom he's getting engaged and then she screams. Sorry, I was just hearing that on repeat in my brain. And
oh my god, did you blow your ears out?
She's like crazy. Anyways, what was the last scene?
But even that scene is a great scene, and it's just a quick little scene. It's like, I want to marry her, and it's like, oh, did you talk about it? Like, no.
I wrote down that
little half-baked.
Quote. Yeah. This whole idea sounds half-baked, and he's like, oh no, it's completely baked.
Completely baked.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. It's such a good scene. Oh, it's so funny.
And then the toast at the end.
Yeah,
it's completely
baked.
Oh my god.
Crazy. Okay. Do you think they like timed the scene perfectly to when they knew the toaster would be finished, or did they have someone just there ready to put the toaster? Because I'd like to think they timed it perfectly. Like you have a minute 30 seconds to get through all your lines, and then the toast will pop up.
Something I love about that scene is at the beginning, Benjamin is reading the cereal box.
Oh yeah.
He's just reading the cereal box. And I think that just shows how empty he feels. Like, if that doesn't
Well,
show
no
you...
offense to anyone who reads cereal boxes.
No, but, like, he's fulfilling his time by reading a cereal box. But also, we've all been there. No, just kidding. Have we? I don't know.
I've read cereal, like,
I've read
they
them.
used to
I've
have,
read
like,
the
mazes on the back that I would...
Yeah, those were fun.
They're back to
fun.
elementary school. I mean, now I still
Elementary school. I was gonna say...
I didn't have
Anyway,
cereal
what was
this
the
morning.
scene?
I should have ate cereal this morning. Would have
That would have
been,
been fitting.
yeah. But anyways, my second scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's the entire hotel sequence. Just from
yeah.
the start of, like, his phone call until he, like, finally gives in to the seduction.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, he has this, like, suspicion with the hotel, like, their whatever concierge, and it's just so, like, unlogical, like, unreasonable for him to have this suspicion, other
But
than
also-
like the guy will kick him out or like will recognize him, but he just like takes it to
That
100.
I know.
I know.
And the
But
quote,
also, like,
I actually wrote down the quote that started that too, and he's like, "Are you here for an affair, sir?" And he's like, "No."
What?
No,
What?
what? Fair? I know. I have my toothbrush. Let me go get that.
The
I'm
whole
gonna go grab my
luggage. Why would he
toothbrush.
say yes? Oh, it's
Well,
like,
no,
oh,
okay.
right, in
He's
my car.
nervous.
He's
He
no, I
thinks
know.
they're gonna
I
judge
completely
him.
understand all his character decisions, but
Okay,
just as
I
a
was
viewer,
like, you don't understand that. What?
just everything. And he actually had his toothbrush in his pocket. He actually went back to get a toothbrush, which is
Yeah,
really
he
funny
did.
to me.
Because
But
he had his toothbrush.
But that whole scene was just a farce of his character, and like
I
Mrs.
know.
Robinson just like watching him go through it. It was just hilarious to watch. Usually, when a character is
So
like
good.
dumb or like embarrassed, it's hard for me to watch that because it's like
Mm-hmm.
cringy. But the movie pulls it off where it's like really just funny to watch, and it's like
Yeah, and also it's less dumb, more anxious and nervous.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, it's peak anxiety, but you don't feel it. It's not like anxiety cinema where they want you to feel it. They don't want you to feel it because they want you to make fun of him
Yeah.
for feeling it. So it's cool. It like flips that idea, and I love it. It's so
I think
good, 'cause
I
he's
think it made
so awkward.
Yeah. I think a main reason why it works that way too is because there's like so many normal people around him too, and Mrs.
Yes.
Robinson like drives so much of it too, like just for
Yeah.
being the part where she like
She
takes
has
it,
fun
she's
with
like
it.
smoking and she takes in a puff and then he kisses her, but then she's just like
I
waiting
know,
for
she can still hold it in.
so she can let it out. That's so
That's
good.
so funny. So-
that scene just kept giving. Like it didn't
I
stop until like
It
he finally
didn't.
like
It
caved
was so
in.
good.
It's like, oh, are they gonna do it? Because then he like starts like,
Inadequate.
exactly. One of my favorite moments is like, can I get undressed? And he's like, sure. And then he just stands there and then crosses his arms to watch.
I know.
And it's just his performance. This is so funny.
So
And, like,
it's so good.
His like contrast with Mrs. Robinson is like so calm and collected about everything. Like especially with their interaction with the waiter at the bar, where he can't even get the waiter to like see him, and then she just says waiter, and then he's like right there.
I
It
know.
was great. And
Yeah.
like that scene's also like right at the beginning. It's just like it's hitting you with
Yeah.
these banger scenes
It
right from the
is.
start.
It's so good. I know. It's so good. I remember, like I was saying earlier, it's kind of like awkward. I was talking to a film professor a while ago, and he was saying how basically the movie is like there's anxiety cinema and then there's like action cinema, but this is awkward cinema. And I love that because I think it's so true because it is the embodiment of awkwardness, especially with Benjamin, because he is just getting by, trying his best, but also not trying at all, and that's okay. But I know it's good. Yeah. It's
Okay,
all
cool.
good.
So we're let's talk about our favorite lines since you guys were super excited about this one. Apparently Emma's favorite line is just an exclamation.
The mom yelling.
Oh my
Oh, we're gonna
God.
get engaged. Because it goes from monotone and then she's screaming and you just can't see it coming. It's not my favorite line, but it's just one of those moments that gets me every time because I forget every time how loud she screams. She's incredible.
Yeah, it's a great just like character moment for the mom, who's a very like
love
side character, but it's just like a burst of personality and what like his parents want for him. It's just a great
Yeah.
moment in general. Yeah.
It is so good. I know. So
So does
other
anyone have an
lines.
actual
I have-
line?
I already
I
gave all
like,
my that I liked.
Oh, I
Wait, what?
still got one.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I like when he goes, "Oh no, Mrs. Robinson, I find you very desirable. I think you're the most desirable of all my parents' friends." He's just so awkward.
Oh my god.
Out of all my parents' friends, you're definitely the hottest. Just like that's
I love
so
that line.
so
Just
weird.
keeps on giving.
Oh god.
I know it does. It's so
It's like he
good.
digs deeper holes for himself in his language.
He does.
Like,
He does.
Just the way he keeps
really
talking.
does. I know, it's so funny. Oh my goodness. Any other lines you got?
I don't know. There's just like anything Hoffman says is gold. Honestly,
It's gold, true. Agreed.
like anything about his toothbrush was great with the waiter. Be a fair line. Yeah, that was a great line.
Oh yeah,
too.
are you here for an
Are
affair?
you here for an affair, sir?
I know,
But-
that's just...
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it's great. Anything he says is my favorite line.
Oh, you know which
I
part I
agree.
like is when he's in the hotel and he calls Mrs. Robinson, and then she's like, "Is there anything you have to say to me?" And
Yeah, then now
he's
it's like, oh, you gotta say
"Oh
the
yeah,
number.
I just really appreciate you for this." And she's like, "The room number."
Thank you for doing this for me. You're so great. No, the room number. The room number, please.
number?
Stop talking. Also, like, oh, you know, Mrs. Robinson, let's go and see a movie. You know, it's great. It's so silly. It's just great. It's so fun. Yeah.
When he talked about like wanting to see a movie, they got me kind of sad though. It was like one of
Aw.
those like
I know,
Catcher in the
that's
Rye
true.
type of like purchase a
'Cause the
prostitute, but just to
movie-
talk to them type
I
of
watched
deal.
this. I watched this movie in my English class because we read Catcher in the Rye, and
Oh, wow,
this movie's
okay.
considered the closest to Catcher in the Rye that you can get because J.D. Salinger does not want anyone making movie adaptations of his book because he's literally against it in the book itself. But it's like I would.
That sounds
argue
like prime
there's-
Hollywood adaptation to me.
Exactly.
The guy who doesn't want their source material adapted, boom, right there. That's a movie.
Yeah.
Haha. But yeah, no,
Ah,
and like there's a
really.
lot of similarities. I mean, the story itself, the themes are almost exactly the same,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, and there's the whole. I don't think it's as touched upon as it is in Catcher in the Rye, but loss of innocence is definitely, I would say, touched
yeah,
upon in
For
this.
sure.
Like right off the bat. It's
Yeah.
it's much later on in Catcher in the Rye. It's like the last chunk, but it's interesting. I think it's really cool. I love that I watched it in my English class, and it made sense. Now I don't remember a lot of the things we talked about when we watched it, but it makes sense. It's interesting. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
emptiness. the
No, it
loss
speaks to
of
the
fulfillment.
movie though, like all its like themes and how profound it is. You can relate it to different types of art and literature,
Mm-hmm.
like just like crisis of the times and now. It's
Yeah.
just so much. There is a lot of like depth to the film, even though it is on the surface like a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that scene when he says to Mrs. Robinson, "Can we at least talk before we jump into bed together?" And
Mhm.
then she starts talking about how she doesn't know anything about
Oh yeah.
She reveals that she was an art major, too.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was really interesting.
She's empty. She has nothing now. That's so sad. I feel bad for Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah,
I feel
there
bad
is
for
like
all the characters.
yeah, all the characters go through it. You know who goes through it? The guy who owns the little like apartment that Benjamin stays
Oh,
Oh,
at.
yeah.
Who hates
man.
agitators. Dang.
Dude, I feel
He's
bad
just trying
for
to
him.
keep his place together.
I know.
But you got this guy running up and down your stairs, asking
Oh,
you
yeah,
to use your
and
phone.
he's like, "I want you out." And he was like, "Why? I don't like you."
Yeah.
I know.
That might be
Oh
my favorite
God.
line right there, dude.
It's a great one. It's so good. There's so many great lines in it.
Oh, I have another line, actually. You know how Mr. Robinson always asks him what drink he wants, and he's like,
Oh,
"What do you
bourbon.
drink?" He says bourbon, and then he pours some scotch. And then
Scotch.
I
when
know.
he's back in his house, I think to pick up Elaine for their date or something, he says, "Scotch is still your drink," and he's like, "No, bourbon." He pours some scotch still.
That sucks.
God.
I wonder if Benjamin will ever get his bourbon. I just hope he one day will. No.
I honestly
But,
think
yeah,
he will.
no-
It's kind of like them setting free from everybody at the end.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, because
Yeah,
there's a bunch of
I
old
was
people on the
just-
bus. Oh, what does the film mean? It's
Ooh.
so profound. Oh my gosh.
But that's cool. I love it. You can make your own meaning. Whatever
Actually,
you
yeah,
want it to be. That's what it
did you
meant.
guys have, like, what meanings did you guys create about the end?
I feel like
About
there's an
the ending?
optimistic view or there's a pessimistic view.
Mm-hmm.
Like a somewhat optimistic. Not super optimistic, but like close to being optimism. Like I think you could view them on the bus like being concerned and like thinking, "Oh wow. I just did that. That's interesting. Wow."
Edgy.
But I mean, it's not like technically bad. Like they're not technically regretting what they've done, but they're still like just letting it sink in. But then also, I feel like most people just see that as, "Oh God, what did we just do? No." Backspace. But,
Abort mission.
I guess I'm definitely in the pessimistic crowd, but it kind of makes the movie better for me if I see it in a pessimistic view. Like, can we go into nitpicks and like things you didn't like about the movie?
Sure.
Do you guys have any, or am I the only one who has a thing I don't like about the movie?
I don't think I have any. I'm not.
I don't
gonna
have
lie.
specifics, but I know that I have some, so maybe if you talk, I'll, like, remember.
Okay, my biggest problem with the final third of the movie is like I don't really buy the relationship with Ben and Elaine. It feels like shallow to me, which it makes sense because he's like looking for something to like a love that he can attach himself to. So I'm okay with like Ben like going after this girl, but I don't like her reciprocating this love, even though it's because
It
I know
is
she's
weird.
also empty. But just the way he acts and like he ends up with the girl at the end just kind of is like it's like off-putting to me because he like stalks her and he like literally beats the bus to the next stop, which is something I've done before, which is really fun when you have to wait for another stop. But yeah, so I didn't really buy into their relationship, especially like him like wanting to marry her right away. It was kind of like, oh, and it's kind of when I didn't like his character as much. It's when the angst like really got to him. But seeing the ending in a pessimistic view kind of helps this for me, because if I see the relationship like not working out, it kind of buys into the relationship not working for me for this last third, if that makes any sense. Because like their relationship, they've had one good date, right? And then he like begs her to come back with him, and yeah, just having the ending where they're both like just like their faces kind of just like die down. It's like, oh, I don't think we really thought this through. I don't know if it's gonna work out for us. So that kind of like final note for the film for me kind of fixes that last nitpick for me. But that was just something I had a problem with the final part of the movie.
Yeah, I actually...
I also see that you
didn't
could
like...
Oh, okay,
Oh.
go ahead. Oh, right then. No. I was gonna try and play devil's advocate here because I have like, yeah, I don't know.
No,
Can
there's
I
definitely
say-
points to be made against this, and it's just
Yeah,
like a
'cause
subjective
I think-
thing.
The way that it's kind of set up is, Elaine and Benjamin are the first two people that, like, for them, it's the first person that they have met that actually understands them, and it's the first person that they have a connection with. Because, like, throughout the movie, with that other guy that she's with, who...
Yeah, Carl.
I don't remember. Carl! Wow, what a name. What a
The
memorable
frat
He's a
boy.
frat boy. He
Yeah,
goes to the frat and
exactly.
he's like, where he
But
at?
there's no connection there. There's
Where's
like
the
no,
makeout
there's
thing?
nothing. It's basically a forced marriage because
Yeah,
Mrs.
essentially
Robinson
a forced marriage. Yep.
wants her to marry him. So she, I think in Elaine's defense, she kind of sees Benjamin as, okay, well, I don't want to marry Carl, although too late, haha. But but Benjamin was the first person that she had actually gone on a date with and went, oh, this has potential. And so she like went after that, and she was putting what her parents wanted behind her, kind of like what Benjamin also did. So I could see that being, I understand their relationship and I understand her going away with him, but also I don't think anyone would be okay with knowing that someone had an affair with your mother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's
it's
one
okay.
thing one thing that bothered me, though, like, going back to JJ's point. So I do agree with Emma's point, though. That makes sense. But, like, one thing that I didn't like was like she had this idea that he had raped her mom, but
That-
then he
yeah,
just
that
says,
is
"No, I
another thing.
didn't," and then she believes him. Like, who are you gonna believe in that situation realistically? I don't know that like that.
But
was
also,
really...
I feel like
No.
it was established that Mrs. Robinson was kind of a manipulative mother.
Yeah.
So I feel like she would be like, "Oh wow, that sounds like my mom." Huh. Cool.
Oh no.
But she doesn't really let him tell a story because that's when she screams and everyone's at his door and he's like, call the cops.
Yeah, that's true. I think
I feel
call
like
the cops.
you can assume that he explains what happens later on, or maybe not, because that's really awkward. I wouldn't explain anything.
yeah, I don't
No,
know.
no, okay. Back to like one of the transition scene, where, like, or the hotel scene when everything's dark and he's with Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why don't you want to talk about Elaine?" It's like they're about to have sex.
Yeah, I know.
and he wants to talk about her daughter, and he's like, "Why don't you want to talk about this?" Like, what?
What's
Obviously,
wrong with this?
what's wrong with this? I don't understand.
I don't see anything wrong with talking about your daughter. I know.
Especially-
So I can understand why people find that weird, because I also don't think that if I were in Elaine's position, I would consider dating Benjamin or running away with him.
No, okay, I can buy
Definitely
it because
not.
they are the only people they have a connection with.
That's true, exactly.
But in terms of their actual relationship, I feel like if there's any depth there, it has to be inferred because like they knew each other in like high school, I think. But
Yeah.
like then from the date on, it's like we don't really hear what they talk about too much, other than when they're in the car and leaving the hotel. And I found that the closest moment of connection for me. But even later in the movie, he's like begging her to get married, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know." But I think that's
But she's
maybe that's
smiling though, because she does know. She's like, "Oh, you know, I wish I could. I wish I could get married to you." And then later on, when she's at the wedding, she's like, "Well, actually, yeah, I can. Okay, I'm gonna take action. Pass me the
I can-
cross. I'm gonna whack some people."
I can actually buy her like going away with him at that moment because it's like a moment of like I don't know, like
Yeah.
passion and like emotion that she wants to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that's what I view the scene on the bus as. Not like, I mean, I feel like in a certain world, they probably could stay together, and I would believe it. Because they're kind of on the bus, they're realizing, wow, we just did
I feel
that.
like they could stay together, but they'd be unhappy and they'd be like their parents. type
I don't
of
know. I feel
I
like,
don't know.
to be honest, I kind of feel like this is kind of a thing that they both would have wanted because, like, yeah, that moment that you see afterwards, like them realizing it's going to be a lot more difficult than they expected it to be to just be together.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I kind of see it as like if both of them are the only people in like their whole environments that actually like felt that they could understand each other, then like I think it has potential for it to be like, yes, it's going to be more difficult, but it's still going to work because we're with the people that we want to be with finally. Versus like the other
And they're
people.
both in the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they're both running away from the world that was paved for them and, like, what their parents wanted them and then what they want. So, I feel like... And you can bond with people going through the same thing as you are. I mean,
Oh, yeah, of
obviously
course.
not the same because Elaine didn't sleep with Benjamin's father, as far as I know.
Right.
But... Maybe that's the sequel. No, I'm joking.
Oh,
my
God.
God.
The Graduate
Yeah.
2 Graduate School.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Graduate school.
Back to school.
Oh my God.
No, but
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like the relationship might work better for me on a rewatch, but I just didn't buy it now. But I can see that in terms of Elaine's hesitance, it can be seen as like her parents like still holding her back in a way. But like that just relationship just didn't buy in. I didn't buy it as much as I wanted to. But
I think for
that's
me it would have
the
helped.
latter half of the film. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go
that's-
ahead.
I think for me, like that part of the relationship thing would have worked better if they had given more time to like redeveloping it just a little bit.
Yeah, like the movie is pretty short. I could have used more, more.
I kind of
time.
like how they didn't redevelop it. I think it makes it more interesting. And it leaves it more open-ended.
Wait, what do you mean by redevelop? Like, where would this redevelopment
Like
happen?
reestablish
zoo.
some kind of
Just
trust
kidding.
when he's in Berkeley, kind of.
Sorry.
Wait, what? Sorry.
I said like reestablish some kind of trust when he's in Berkeley or something, like somewhere in between.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because it just feels like suddenly she's on board and then suddenly she's like, oh no, JK, I can't because my parents. So it just feels like she's really like on and off, and I feel like I don't trust Elaine in those moments just because it feels very like unpredictable at those parts, which I guess helps to drive the movie, but I just felt like I didn't feel a connection with Elaine to like the commitment of wanting to be with him in that moment too. Like I needed to reestablish the connection to me because I did see that they were so well connected, and I felt like it got severed by the fact that she like found out that he was sleeping with her mom. And then like I felt like it just needed a little bit more of a push or something to reestablish that they are meant for each other, low key, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because even if she realizes he didn't actually rape her mom, he still slept with her mom.
Yeah,
so
that's
I
weird.
feel like there needs to be more of like, how do you get over something like that?
I know.
That's crazy.
I know.
But
I feel like, I don't know, if there was that time, I feel it would ruin part of the movie. I think it wouldn't be as interesting as it is.
And no, that's why the
just
ending
unique.
it fixes it, because the ending's more open-ended to me because of that lack of
exactly, because they I love it, because they're like, oh my god, what did we just do? Oh my god, and they're just feeling that like complete stress and that like stomach dropping feeling of, and that dread. You can see all of it. They're so great at like portraying their emotions. It's so good.
No, it's kind of like a return of the problems from the beginning of the movie, because he starts to be like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my future, and it ends with I don't know what I'm going to do with my future.
Yeah, like the consistency of uncertainty. It's kind of heartbreaking though if you really think about it. Like
consistency of uncertainty.
Ooh, say it one more time.
Oh my goodness.
Consistency of uncertainty.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of like heartbreaking to realize that though, because it's like he spent all this time looking for something that would really give him fulfillment in that uncertainty. Like, I have a person that I can now dedicate my life to, but he's still so unsure about it because he did it without like the support of the people around him already.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's kind of him sacrificing what he had before to have something new that could possibly have fulfilled him, but now he doesn't even know if that's going to be worth it too. And it's just so sad because it makes me think about like just people in general who like search their whole life for like some sort of meaning with what they do, or like some kind of fulfillment that way, and just like the constant search and how sometimes people just never get it.
True. It's interesting. That is very true. I love it. I love how the movie ends on such a sad note, but it starts and ends on the same feeling, and I love that.
The same song.
I think that's so cool.
Sounds of Silence.
Same song, same feeling. It's perfect. It's framed so well. Yeah.
Also, just a little fun fact, in the beginning he comes in through LAX, and I was at LAX like last summer, and I saw like the part that he comes up at, and I was like, oh, The Graduate, and no one knew what I was talking about.
Sad. How dare they not know what you're talking about? I love The Graduate. As you can tell. I love it very much.
I know this is a reference to The Graduate, but the part when he's on the walkalator, you know, the thing that moves
the
him forward. The
walkalator?
That's what I call it. It's a
Excuse me?
walkalator. Because you don't escalate,
Okay.
it helps you walk. It's a walkalator. But his part on that, the walkalator, it always reminds me of the Geico commercial with the caveman. But I know that's exactly what that commercial is referencing.
It is,
referencing
yeah.
that, but yeah.
I know. That's wow. There's so many references to The Graduate in so many different things. Like,
and
especially the
understandably so.
ending. Yeah. I know, true. Yes. Also, I love Simon and Garfunkel. Just thought I should bring that back up because I love Simon and Garfunkel.
Really?
That's it. I just want to love them.
Okay, so favorite performance. I think we all have one.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yes.
It's Dustin Hoffman.
It's Dustin Hoffman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did Dustin Hoffman win an Oscar for this?
No, it only won one Oscar, I think, just for Best Directing.
Oh, really?
What?
I thought it won
Yeah.
Best Picture. Did it
No.
not?
I don't think so. Wait, let me see.
I must have
what?
read the wrong thing. We're all just like searching something up, and people who already know are like, "You idiots!"
Okay, yeah, no,
Oh
I know
yeah, it
definitely
only won Best
directing.
Director. It only won.
That's
Best
crazy.
It did. I told you it got nominated for 7, which I knew, but it only won Best Director, which I think is horrible. But also, I don't know what other ones were nominated. So.
Bonnie and Clyde was nominated for Best Picture, but it did not win. In the Heat of the Night won Best Picture.
Have not seen. but
Have
I
not
can assure
seen-
you I like The Graduate more. No, kidding. I don't know.
Future Emma, who's seen In the Heat of the Night and it's like her favorite movie, is like, oh, why would
It's
she
not.
say that?
No, future Emma, no. But Dustin Hoffman was nominated, right?
Yeah, he was
No.
nominated.
Yeah, he was. He should have
was.
won. I don't know who was.
Oh wait, who won?
though.
I bet. Okay, the guy in the Heat of the Night won. So.
He did. Ah.
Dude,
Well,
wait,
anyways.
this nomination list is crazy. So you got Warren Beatty for Bonnie and Clyde, which
Whoa.
came out the same year, and
Yeah.
Paul Newman in Cool Hand Luke.
Ooh.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, it was a good year.
Oh, the
See,
cool
the
year.
60s cinema, man. I'm telling you, it was
Yeah,
so
no, this
good.
is 67. So yeah, this is like new Hollywood. So this is when things started
Yes.
changing. The death of the studio system. Yeah.
Goodbye, studios. Haha. Just kidding. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Dustin Hoffman he nails it. He's so
nails
good.
it.
There's nothing bad about his performance. It's just so good. That's rare. There's probably times where you could see a really great actor and like kind of nitpick certain aspects, but I don't think there's any moments in this movie that
I can
don't think
nitpick
he
his
nails.
character later because I didn't like his character, but that's due to the
But that's his
writing, not his.
personality.
Yeah, that's due to the writing and not his performance. Because his performance
Yeah.
still at those parts were amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a really fantastic performance.
It like embodies anxiety for me.
He does.
In a lot of
Anxiety, awkwardness, being very socially awkward.
Yes.
It's great.
It's done so well
Mouse.
that I slightly just feel the secondhand like embarrassment. So I'm like, stop. But
You're
at the
But
same
it
time,
doesn't. It doesn't give you the secondhand embarrassment though, which is such a
It
big
doesn't?
because I hate secondhand embarrassment.
I think it
in films.
plays
Yeah,
with
it's
that
not in the way that normally. It's kind of more in like a relatable secondhand embarrassment.
mhm.
Because like there's when he's holding the door open for people and they just keep coming through. Like that's something that you can watch and go, oh, I've been there. I've done that, and that's awkward, and you feel a little bit of it, but it's not bad. It's more of like, aha, been there. That sucks. It's like us. I don't know. It's interesting. It's cool. I love it.
That just reminded me of that scene where he's trying to make it seem like he's actually like doing something at the hotel, and he goes into the room and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Braniff, is that you?"
I don't understand.
Just that whole thing was so funny.
It's so good. It's brilliant. It's so good.
That hotel scene, it keeps giving. I'm telling you, it starts and
It
gives
does,
a
it
little
really
bit,
does.
and then it keeps on piling it up, and then it's just it's like a short film.
Yeah.
literally,
It
that
really
scene is a short
is.
film.
It is. It's so good. I'm glad that you guys like it so much because I love
Yeah,
it.
thank you for the recommendation. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy.
No worries.
I can now log it off on my watch.
Yes,
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Haha. One of my favorite movies. Yeah. It's also I watch it so much. I've mentioned it before.
Mhm, this
but
is
it's
definitely
such a
something I would
rewatchable
rewatch.
Yeah, like you just throw it on and you can like just chill. It's great.
It's just such a
Easy
memeable
watch.
movie. I love it.
True.
But I don't want it to be movies that are like too memeable are just like hard for me to watch because every
It's not
line's-
memeable though.
It's not memeable. It's like I don't know what the word
I guess
is.
it's
Like very
enjoyable.
tongue in cheek, maybe. I don't know.